And we're live. Okay. All right. I'd like to welcome you all to today's call. This is Friday's coaching call with Manny Nowak. Good to have you all here today. And we've got a hot subject, and we've got a lot of people who were really interested in. So I'm going to do a couple of housekeeping tasks, and then I'm going to introduce our guest, and we're going to get rolling because we already got a lot of questions in. And if you have any questions, throw them up on the board. We'd like to answer your questions, of course, first because you're here live. If not, we'll take some of the questions we have. So if you've got them questions that are burning inside of you, let's throw them up on the board. You know, we're here every Friday, noon to 12:30 Eastern Time with some subject designed specifically for you as the business owner. Some tool that's going to help you. And today's tool, of course, is LinkedIn. Very powerful tool. And my guest with me today is Orlando Rivera. So let me let him say hello and tell you a few things about himself, and we'll go from there. So it's all yours for a few minutes. Go ahead, Orlando.
Thanks, Manny. Thanks for having me on the show. As I mentioned to you before we went live, it was the first time on a Google Hangout, so I'm really excited about it. As an introduction, I'm a business broker with a group I formed called Aspera Business Brokers, and we basically help business owners sell their business through the valuation process, the marketing, and everything else, as well as individuals who are looking to buy a profitable and existing business, already kicking out cash flow for return on their investment. We cover the region. And so we're basically based out of Cherry Hill, but we cover all New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New York County.
All right. So LinkedIn is one of those tools. Orlando and I actually did a session the other day where we were talking about LinkedIn. So before we roll into some questions, perhaps you could kind of set the stage a little bit and give our audience some free information on, what is this tool and how should they be treating it a little different than probably most people do.
Sure. Well, I think first I might want to address a little bit for the audience why I'm here, right? So some of you guys may know, I'm also an attorney, and I also work in commercial real estate. So, all of those services really help the entrepreneur in that transition of life, whether getting in or out of a business. So why am I talking about LinkedIn, right? So it turns out that a number of years ago, I was one of those many out there who just did not like social media. This felt like an intrusion into privacy. Using Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, for crying out loud, I still have a hard time with really enjoying Twitter or getting into it. It just seems like there's a lot of problems, right? So there's a lot of things there. But I once went to an event and I got inspired by some of the things I learned, and I actually generated business for my law practice out of Facebook. I was setting up appointments. And so I kind of developed my interest and explored it a little further and came to LinkedIn because as professionals, you do a lot of networking. I'm out there doing a lot of networking, and LinkedIn just seems to be the ideal place if you're going to spend your time to generate business or develop your relationships, maintain your network and expand your network. LinkedIn is the place to go. That's where the professionals are. That's a professional setting. And so LinkedIn is my, I think, number one preferred social media platform. Now, to answer your question, as far as some of the issues that I've seen, I think the big takeaway, I'm going to start off with that. There's one thing you should know going into this that will help you truly make or get results in LinkedIn is to remember your etiquette. And to basically apply what you do in real life to what you do in the virtual world, right? So you have to somehow remember to translate that in every regard, in every interaction or feature that's available through LinkedIn, Facebook, it really doesn't matter. You need to remember how would you behave in the real world. And what works in the real world gets you results is going to give you results online. So, for example, I'll give you a really easy one. A lot of people say, I get invites from people I don't even know. And they're from all over the world. I don't know why I'm getting an invite from somebody from China or Turkey, whoever it is, and they just ignore it. Or they get someone who they think is local, they may have heard of before, but they feel like they're just spamming them and they're just, harassing them. Well, the reality is, just to translate that as an example, if you were at a networking event live, you went to some type of chamber event or some social event or some conference, if someone came up to you and said hello, and they started talking about themselves, I think you would entertain them. I think you would work that relationship a little bit and move on. So at the very least, I always recommend that you respond to those invites, engage in a conversation of some sort, at least by phone, and see if you can vet that person to determine if there's a mutually beneficial relationship to be had there. You'll be surprised. And I've given some examples before where that's worked out to produce for me.
That brings up a great question, which somebody asked right there, and it says, how do you feel about asking people for a call or more information before you even connect with them? Have you ever done that, or is that something that you recommend? Or I'll give them my answer, but I'll let you go.
Well, I think you're saying that the person wants to have a phone conversation before even approving the LinkedIn connection?
Yeah, in other words, and I've had this happen to me. It was an interesting conversation. It was a great connection, but the guy said, I get connection requests all day long. He says, and before I connect with anybody, I always want to have a call. We actually had a video conference together. He says, and we'll see if there's any reason for us to connect.
Wow.
So interesting conversation. And now we're connected, we're friends, and we're actually sharing some business together. So
exactly. You know what? That is awesome. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic. So the person you wanted to reach out to actually invited you to a phone conversation, which obviously is a lot better than trying to email each other and message each other through the LinkedIn platform. Yeah. So as far as from your perspective, I'd say that's a home run, right? That's like that. You just skipped a lot of the baby steps and went right into that sales call, if you will, even though it's not really a sales call, because I know you develop relationships with. You're in there trying to figure out who they are, what they can do, what you can do for them, and trying to leverage each other. But that's awesome. That's actually fantastic. That's very good.
Yeah, it actually worked out. And, I've had other people reach out to me, even though they connect. And I guess that was the other question here. The next question was, okay, so you're connected, and so now I have another connection. And if you're new to LinkedIn, maybe you're trying to get to 500 or whatever, and I got another connection. But, so what? So you're connected. Now what? I mean, do you have a plan that you tell people that once you're connected, this is what you should or shouldn't do?
Right. So when I'm talking to other business owners from the perspective of helping them grow value in their business, obviously a good system in terms of growing their sales is really important. And so it depends on that individual on what their process is. So what's your end goal? Is your goal to feed a event? Are you hosting workshops and lectures, or like yourself, for example? Are you hosting one-on-one coaching events? Or are you looking for the one-on-one coffee? Is that your goal, your first next step, So if you're converting and you know your steps and your process, you really have to know your sales process. And I think that's really a lob-up question for you, man. So if you know your sales process and you take LinkedIn just to magnify that and scale it and make it happen faster. If your typical next step process put people into an email newsletter, for example, then this is a great way to follow up with your network people you meet with, wherever they may be, on a daily basis, 24/7, 7 days a week, all year long. It's constantly out there working for you. if you know how to use the system. So the question is not an easy one to answer because it depends on what your next step is, but that's what you'd ask for. I mean, that's really that simple. If you know you're looking for a phone call, then you're basically going to invite everyone that you connect with as a next step to a 20-minute phone call. And, of course, make sure you're clear that you're going to respect their time. And that for me, by the way, the way I do it, I do look for the call, and I tell them, message, my email, that I'm trying to create a network that I know all of them. They're an active network, and I want to feel comfortable referring them or introducing someone to them if someone asks me to introduce them. So if they're strangers and they just connect with me, I don't know anything about them, and someone wants to be introduced, it doesn't look too good for me. I can always tell the person, look, I don't know them, they're just connected, that's all good, but I really do, I think we all know that this has to go somewhere. We're not doing likes and shares and connections just for the fun of it. That's a waste of time. So we do need to move the conversation, we do need to move the relationship forward. And the person's not interested in it, then at some point I may have to determine whether I'm going to let them go. They name some ulterior motives that's really not helpful.
Yes. And that, was one of the things that people, one of the questions we got in was, and I don't know if either one of us has an answer to this, which is kind of, how do you organize this LinkedIn thing? Because it is, once you get over that 500 or over 1,000 contacts, how do you make any sense out of it? I think the tools are weak. The only thing I've used is the tagging to some extent. You have any feedback in there, as to ways that maybe you organize that data?
Now you have a paid account, correct? A premium account?
Yes, I have a premium account.
So that's the first thing, right? Get a premium account because now you just mentioned something which is tagging, and a lot of people in the audience may not know, but the premium account gives a lot of great features. What I think it does is it converts LinkedIn into your CRM. That's your contact relationship management tool. So now this is the way to, you can tag your contacts and sort them into professional referral network group, prospective client group. You can tag them as prospects or referral or whatever phase they're in, and you can pull that out and send emails immediately to them. So you can use it to manage messages very quickly. You can also use it to export contacts. And anyone can do this, by the way, and anyone can export their contacts into a CSV file, import that into their own email management tool, or ESP, email service providers, like MailChimp, Constant Contact. But the other thing you can do when you have a premium account is you can actually tag, you can put notes to each contact. So if you have conversations, you can add those conversation notes to that profile, right in their profile, built in on your premium account. And on top of that, you can also create an alert or a reminder notification with that person to follow up anytime down the road. So you have 2 weeks follow up after you have the conversation. It's really cool. And for $30, whatever it is a month, to have access to all that information about those contacts that you've built up. So now you know their background, their experiences, maybe some of their hobbies, some of their interests, some of their skills. Better yet, you know who they're connected with, what groups you mutually, which circles you're in. Talk about developing intelligence around your network and your prospects. I highly encourage getting a premium account, and these are just some of the reasons. But if you talk about managing your relationships, LinkedIn has it built in your premium account.
Well, that's good. That's good. And that was one of the other questions that kept coming up as we were taking questions in, which was, do I really need a premium account? And I think you kind of gave people a great introduction to why they need that premium account, because it is truly important that if you're going to seriously do any work in LinkedIn, yes, there's a lot there for free. And for years, my account was free, and the reason I kept it free was because there wasn't anything I wanted to do to really have to use those extra things. But when you start going into some of these special searches and you want to work with companies of certain sizes, you got to go to a premium account. And I think the other thing that really makes premium good is that whole in-mail thing where you can actually connect with people who have no relationship with yourself.
Right.
I actually did a couple of those this week, and it was a perfect situation. It was a perfect person I needed to meet. If I didn't have InMail, I would have no way really to get there, other than using some backdoor techniques. But InMail is just a tremendous tool. What do you think?
You know what? I don't use my InMail actually.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, you get 5 InMail messages available per month, and if you don't use it, they stack up. I think you max out at 10 or 15, maybe 15 InMail messages. And InMail just basically means that you can message someone you don't have any connection to whatsoever, no matter how far they are in your social graph there. And LinkedIn says they'll guarantee a response from that person. If they don't respond in a certain period of time, you get that InMail message back, that the use of that InMail. And now you can try it again with someone else. That's pretty damn awesome. I mean, can you imagine trying to hit, Bill Gates and all the other, big names out there, and if they don't respond, just keep using it? I mean, be bold, my friend. It's a wonderful feature in LinkedIn. I think it's awesome. But actually, I didn't need to. Look, there's probably at least a half a dozen super powerful tactics or strategy approaches that you can use LinkedIn in. And I only use maybe one. I really just use it to leverage my time with my network when I do live events, and also some of the organic stuff that happens online, and my follow-up and my conversation. So it's just more of an organic, natural kind of growth. I let it go. Most are connecting with me at this point, and I'm getting a lot of referrals and a lot of other good things out of it. So it's more of that good old school relationship building stuff that takes time, and there's nothing easy. But LinkedIn does make the whole thing easier for you because it's faster to do, it's easier to follow up. It's just it leverages my time. So unfortunately, I can't answer the InMail question, but I think it's definitely one of those powerful things you can use, especially if you're going after the bigger organizations.
All right, yeah. So we got a question out there. I just saw it pop up about premium accounts, and do we have any statistics on premium versus regular, and whether it's really that much better? And I don't really have any statistics. I only have, basically what Orlando and I have shared today, unless you have some statistical information as to what.
Well, in terms of, I'm not sure what statistics we're talking about here in terms of the ability to produce more of something, I guess.
Yeah. Is it better? Is it really cost beneficial to, and is there any information that LinkedIn has? And I don't have anything on that, but the beneficial thing, I think, from my standpoint, was really that now I wanted to go after a certain size company, and because I have a premium account, I can now do that. I can say I only want to see companies with this many employees and in certain geographic areas, which is something that you can't do unless you know some tricks. But basically, you can't do it in a free version.
Well, in terms of statistics, obviously that's a hard one to come up with. But as an individual, I do recommend it, and I encourage you to do it. You don't necessarily have to have a 1-year contract just for the month. And if you think about all the value of $30, right? So here's some examples of, I think I compare who had approached LinkedIn in terms of value. So $30, I now have basically the equivalent of Hoover's contacts and business relationships, right? So now you have all this information about individuals and businesses that you're not going to probably get in Hoover's or any other databases that you can purchase for a lot more money and that's just not going to be available. So that's number one. I just love that. Secondly, your ability to reach more and do the research and go out there and find more people. In the premium, your advanced search features allow you more search, so you can search for anything from the company or select by size, by a lot more things than a lot more detail than the free one. But you also get greater results. So your results come out with more than just say first connection, second connection, or third connection, perhaps even further in terms of results in your network. So from information to prospecting, and of course because of the email and a number of other features, you have a great leverage there. So $30, it's a steal.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying that much to go to one physical networking event, right?
Easily, yeah.
Breakfast. So, I mean, if you're serious about networking, you should get that premium account.
And to add to that, right? You go to a networking event, you're not sure who's going to be there. You're kind of poking around, you're bouncing around, you're just you come out with a lot of cards, and you don't do anything with them, or maybe a lot of them are just not really, you didn't feel that great about. Well, on LinkedIn, if you're able to use it, now you're being ultra specific and focused, laser focused on who you're looking to attract, and you can reach out to them directly, very quickly through that search filter. You filter and sift everyone out, and you got exactly a list of who you want, and you just start dialoguing with them and building a relationship. So again, in terms of time management and the ability to leverage what you do already, I'm two thumbs up.
And a lot of it from the comfort of your desk or wherever you're working with. But I want to step back a minute because you said something that I thought was good, which was be bold in the connection process, which I think is important that people understand that, but not overly aggressive or abusive, I guess, is critical, because we all get kind of abused by some of those LinkedIn connections. But it's so important that you work on that relationship and treat it like any other relationship, right?
Well, right. So it goes both ways. So you wouldn't go out to a networking event and take your resume with you and just drop it on somebody's hand and say, here you go, stay in touch, and then walk off to the next person, right? And then hit them with your resume and try to hit everyone in the room and be out the door in 2 minutes and say, I did my job. That doesn't work. So don't come off the salesy. I think you should have the intention of, a handout in terms of trying to help or really reach out and get to know the other person, genuinely, and then see what goes from there. I don't think, I don't know about you, Manny, but I think the greatest salespeople out there really don't go in there. I mean, they have a goal in mind for sure, but in terms of scripting out how conversations are going to happen or how about the presentation or discussion is going to happen, they're not so concerned about that. They're really in the present, right? So they're really just generally looking into the person's eyes, really connecting, building that rapport that's so important, and then moving the conversation as it goes, as long as they're getting closer to that goal. But if you're coming in saying, all right, I got my script, here's my template email, and we all know it's like a template email, and you got hit with it, and you got to hit it with another one, like, hey, why don't we have this, or can you do this, or would you be, hey, have you checked, I got one recently, have you checked this website out? It's really great to, what was it, with a business finance company, like capital finance organization, and the guy was like, hey, you should check this out. I'm like, that was a spam, So as a rule of thumb, a little tip for everyone in the audience, for everyone is to share, truly educate or entertain your network, primarily LinkedIn, educate your network 4 out of 5 times you post or reach out. The 5th time, you can ask for something. Hey, why don't you like or follow my page, my business page? Or, hey, why don't you sign up to a webinar I'm having this coming up, whatever. Whatever the offer, whatever the ask is, you can do that. But you should, every time you post things out there, 1 out of 5 is the request. 1 out of 5 is that hit me up with, hey, check this site out. You should, learn more about it. He didn't even bother with that. So you should have at least tried at least 3 to 4 times with something of value to me, just to share. Hey, you're a business broker. I just saw this new law that came through that might impact you. Good luck. That's all. No big deal. or maybe you see something about something else that may impact me as a professional, then share that, or my audience. And by the way, that could be another tip. Go a little further, go deeper in this. Why don't you offer something that would help your audience look better, right? So now if your great referral sources are, say, like accountants and attorneys, business attorneys like myself, real estate attorneys, CPAs, business CPAs, CFOs and such, financial advisors, why don't I try to help them look good for their audience? They can share and post it because they're going to be more motivated to do that. So there's a big difference. I just shared something that their clients would really care about that no one else offers, no other financial advisor, for example, offers. If I give that to them, then they share it and they say, look what I can do and I can offer you, then no one else can. It changes the dynamic. So those are just a few ideas, a few tips I would like to share. And it worked really well.
I got a lot of questions here. I just want to, and we're all, like always, we're running out of time. Just one quick question I got on groups here, which was really interesting, which is, what are you supposed to do with the groups? What can I do with groups? And I guess my answer there, first of all, that's where you find your connections. If you're in the right groups, they should be groups of people that you want to do business with, not that you shouldn't be in some groups of your colleagues, but they're not the ones you really want to connect with. You want to get into those groups where your customers are hanging out. If you're looking for referral sources, where your referral sources are hanging out. You're looking for investors, where your investors are hanging out. Those are the kind of groups you need to hang out with. You want to add something there? Okay. Well, we lost them temporarily, so I'll talk until we bring them back, hopefully, because we're just about out of time today. I do have a couple other questions. One of the questions we had was, how much time should I spend on LinkedIn every day? And I'll give you a real interesting answer, because the other day I had to make a decision. Was I going to work on LinkedIn for a while, or was I going to go to a physical networking event? And I chose to work on LinkedIn. And it's amazing if you treat it the same way. If you say, okay, I'm going to go to a networking event. I know it's going to take 3 hours. By the time I get there, by the time I get back, by the time I talk to some people. Now say to yourself, what if I spent that 3 hours networking on LinkedIn or Facebook or some other tool? What could I accomplish? And I was just mesmerized by how much I got done by spending a couple hours just working on LinkedIn. So those things, that's a tip for you. Spend the time there. I think you already heard, look at the premium. I think you already heard that it's important to build those relationships. It looks like we lost Orlando. I don't know. Well, up there, he's coming back, but not yet. So I'm going to have to close out anyway, and I just want to let you know a few things. Hey, there you are. You're back. Just a few closing comments are, we're here every Friday with a tool. If you didn't get to see this whole thing, the replay will be out there. It's always out on our YouTube channel, so you can see it out there. Join us every Friday. Share this with your friends. We're here basically to educate you in some area. We try to bring in guests like Orlando and experts in the field. So that's what we're here for. So you have any closing comment on LinkedIn as we wrap up here, Orlando?
There's a lot to talk about, like you said. So it's really hard to close up with this one thing. I did want to just answer at least though your question about the groups.
Okay.
And I think this could be a good tip as an action item for anyone to walk away with. And that is, you don't have to write content. You don't have to be a blogger, an article writer, or anything like that. If you're in groups, just engage in conversation. Someone brings up a question, chime in. Even no matter how small it is, just chime in. And once you do, you're now able to connect to those people and have private sidebar conversations with them. Same thing in your news feed or your post feed. If a thread of conversations being had, Celebrate that someone had something happen for them, their awards, share their information, get them out there. And I think that's all you really have to do is just keep the conversation going, communicate as much as you can, and you'll find your way. It'll become a lot easier and more intuitive once you dive in and start using it. Other than that, I think it's the simplest tip that I can give in closing remarks for today.
Great. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
It's been exciting as it always is. We're here to try to help you. And again, we're out of time. So we got through very little of the content that we had. So I'm sure we'll try to put on a couple more of these specifically on LinkedIn. Just, message me, email me, let me know. Yeah, I need some more of this. This was good. You liked it. And we'll go from there. So thanks again for being with us. We'll see you next week at 12 noon Eastern time. And thank you very much.
Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend.